Good morning or good afternoon, Facebook, depending on where you are in the world today. It's a beautiful day in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, and a beauty. I honestly believe out of the last 200 of these I've done, I probably had one really bad day. And you can hear in the background, that's my falcon crying again. Anyway, where are we? We're at the Rythmia Life Advancement Center. What is Rythmia? Rythmia is a life advancement center unlike any other in the world. It uses plant medicine, ayahuasca, farm-to-table organic food, breath work, meditation, the cleanse, metaphysical teachings, Michael Beckwith's The Answer Is You program, to bring about this incredible life change that's summed up in a soul merger or a soul reclamation. Folks from all walks of life come here. On our board of directors alone, we have Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, Kelly Slater, the greatest surfer of all time, Michael Bernard Beckwith, the founder of Agape, Martin Luther King's son, Martin, the civil rights leader. We have Ron White, the world famous comedian. We have Jack Canfield, the author of Chicken Soup series of books, over 50 million copies sold. And we have great business people like Earl Koski and Tony Coe, Dr. Jeff McNair. That's just on our board. Who comes here? Entertainers, football players, baseball players, basketball players, boxers, singers, songwriters, actors, musicians, all come here. Then business people come here to experience what we do. And normal people just like you and me come here and have this amazing thing happen to them. How many people have been here so far? A tick under 17,000 people have been through this thing with these amazing results. Now, how do we know these results are amazing? Every week when they check out, they are given a survey. 98.36% of the people who've been through the doors claim that they had a life-changing miracle during their stay. 98% of these people. The better and more interesting statistic is at the 6-month mark, they're given another survey. 90.22% say that miracle is still working in their lives 6 months later, but more importantly, that this was the week that changed their life. Amazing week at Rythmia. Yeah, so we are doing over 2,500 TripAdvisor reviews. We're a top 10 resort of 5-star reviews. And it's just an amazing place. I'm particularly happy this week because we've had a lot of good news over the past 2 weeks that we're going to be making announcements about in the not too distant future, but it's very, very good. One of the things that happens during this process, during this soul merger, soul reclamation, generally speaking, and over 90% of the people that go through this, they decide to become a beneficial presence on the planet. What does that mean and why does that happen? In this week, they realize what a miracle life is in and of itself. The opportunity to breathe, look at the green side of the grass, be in this garden of a planet with amazing opportunities to create relationships that enrich our lives. They realize that this is a gift. And because they're given this gift, they want to pay it back. How? By leaving the planet a better place than when they came to it. That's it. By leaving the planet in a better place than when they came to it. That they take responsibility for their balance sheet in this process. That I am here, I've experienced the gift of life, and I want to elevate my brothers and sisters in their quest to do that to others. Yes, that's the whole thing. That's what becoming a beneficial presence on the planet is about. Now, when we decide to become a beneficial presence on the planet, one of the byproducts of that quest and achievement is that there's a monetary equivalent that's given back to you in the form of money. So when you develop mastery over a particular thing, the end result is usually money or ease of life in the end. Quick, easy, never. So what does the process look like? It's easiest at the end and hardest at the beginning. That is the process. If you're going to be a disruptor, if you're going to really incite change, then you have to be used to this process being incredibly hard, especially at the beginning. Why is that a natural state? Well, if you looked at anybody that was a disruptor, really shook things up, like the Christ, Martin Luther King, like all of these people had a hard time in this process, right? If you look at business people who are shaking it up, if you look at Elon Musk, at the Jeff Bezos, the people that are shaking up the world and doing things different, it's always incredibly hard. If you take a look at Elon Musk's life, geez, I wouldn't want that life. It's a horribly hard life. I mean, these are hard things that you're taking over. Now, in the end, does it benefit humanity and does it get easier? Yes, it absolutely does. Is that an enticement for you to start doing it now? No, because it's going to be super, super, super hard. My friend created, I think, the second largest business in the fast food industry in the world, and in the pizza world. And when you listen to his story, all of it is hard. It was never easy. It was always life and death. Our dear board member, Tony Co., she gave birth to a brand called NYX Cosmetics, and she sold it really well for over $500 million. That's a 30-year ordeal, and none of it was easy. It only gets easy near the end. If you look at Michael Beckwith, who started the Agape Spiritual Center, it's always been challenging, because when you bring great light, there's going to be opposing forces of darkness. It's just the way that it is. Just the way that it is. So, what are some of the things that happen to you that we learn in ceremony that happens to you once you decide to become a beneficial presence? Well, it's about a 10-year ordeal. Fact. It's going to be harder than anything you've ever done in your life. You're going to have to make agreements with yourself that are uncancelable, and at the same time, make agreements with others who are uncancelable, while others will be canceling their agreements on you. It's this hard decision to walk in the light and not quit until you get to where you're going. That is the thing. And if you make it to be any less dramatic than that, you're crazy. You're telling yourself that you're setting yourself up for failure, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be treachery. It's going to be all those things. Now, there is joy in it. There is relief in it. There is fulfillment in it beyond words, because this process, once you bite off the piece that is this process and say, hey, that's what I'm up against, you're met with a sense of ease and as my friend Cesar Millan, who I forgot to even tell you was on our board, as my friend Cesar Millan says to me all the time, calm confidence. It's what you get when you tell yourself the truth about the mission you're embarking on, is calm confidence, because I am not rattled by the things that are thrown at me, because they are expected. So then I can fall in love with the process. And in this process, I have to make agreements with myself. What are those agreements? I'm going to get up every day. I'm going to pray or meditate or do yoga. I'm going to do something for me spiritually. Uh, 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 Prayer of some type, pre-thanks prayer, giving thanks for things that have not yet occurred. That's what Michael Beckwith and others have named spiritual mind treatments. But I'm going to do something for me spiritually every day. And then I'm going to do something for my health every day. And those are my baseline agreements. And in making those agreements with myself, I ensure that I have the peace and the strength to get to where I want to go. Those are key elements and cannot be broken. Then you have to tell the world that you're going to be impeccable with your word. If somebody comes to work for you, you're going to make them an offer. You're going to honor that agreement. You're going to honor your agreement to your clients and customers. You're going to honor your agreements to your friends and family. That's part of this process. It's hard to do. And nobody is perfect at it. Everybody falls here and there, but you can't fall often. You have to maintain this thing and keep going, right? Keep going. And it is hard and it is lonely. One of the things that people are going to tell you is that, oh, there is some shortcut and there is an easy way. And there is not. There is not a shortcut. There is not an easy way. And the process itself is your life, and your life is your ceremony. Any way you go at this is hard. If you ever speak to a guy that never took a chance, or if you ever talk to a person who speaks badly about everybody and never got off the couch and did anything for his or herself, if you talk to those people when they're 60, when they're 70, and they're full of remorse and regret, no, staying home, eating bonbons, laying on the couch, drinking, shortcuts, it's not the easy way. It's equally as hard as doing the hardest thing. The only difference is the end results are markedly different. Markedly different. You take the people that really wanted to change the world, and you look at their lives and their accomplishments when they're done and they close their eyes the final time in the earth suit, they know that they made an incredible difference with their life. They know that their life, that they became a beneficial presence on the planet. And a lot of those stories don't end well. If you look at the end of Jesus, the end of Martin Luther King, just take a look at the great ones. Some of them don't even end well on earth. Some of them do end well. Some of them have nice endings, but some of them don't. But in their final hour, they know that they did good, that they brought truth, they brought things, and those lives were very worth living. And what I'm going to show you is that when we talk about ceremony stories, one of the greatest ceremonies I've ever had is when she told me that we are all given the same opportunities. What we do with them is our experience. So we're all born and we all die. And if you take a look at a gravestone, it has that dash. That dash is what we did with the opportunities we were given. That's all we have. That's our contribution. And if you take a look at the great ones that made it, they all have the same hardship stories. Every single one of them. Every single one. Every Mother Teresa, every Jesus, every big business owner, everybody that employs a lot of people and pays a fair wage, everybody who's involved in this thing, their own stories are horrible. So what does that mean? That means there really is no excuse. If you take a look, I had a friend named David who in school was a great baseball player and an ultra handsome guy who got in a car accident and became, I don't know if it's a paraplegic or a quadriplegic. But anyway, he couldn't move. He could talk, and he had a little bit of movement with his arms, a little bit of movement because he signed things. But anyway, for all intents and purposes, I couldn't believe that he had the will to want to live. This accident happened in his 20s. And what did he do over the next 40 years, over the next 30 years? He built huge businesses. He built without being able to move and just being. So what I'm telling you is that what we are given is our chance, that this is our chance. So what I want to do, what the mother made me see, is that no matter how much bullshit you put up with, no matter how many critics you have or things that people say or lies or what, doesn't matter. What matters is you're happy to be alive. You're happy to be doing what you're doing. And that you find joy in the process. Now, the difference between the people who actually make it there and the people who don't is grit. What is grit? We all have days that are terrible. There was a time when I was young that a bad day for me is when people said something bad about me. That's how feeble I was, right? As you get older, now a bad day looks like, hey, a bank shut you down, or you lost a big customer base, or like real problems, right? And or you had this hardship with a loved one got sick or something, or death or something. Those are hard days. What grit is what grit is, and this is the ingredient. If I take Cesar Millan, if I take Kelly Slater, if I take Papa John, if I take two of my friends who I won't name who are billionaires, if I take this group of people, Jack Canfield, who reached this super success in life, Michael Beckwith, Martin Luther King, if I take these people, what did they have? They had grit. So what is grit? Grit is on those days where you can't find an excuse to get out of bed, you do. When you can't find an excuse to pray, you do. When you can't find an excuse to work out, you do. When you find reasons to break your word, to take shortcuts, you don't. You stay in and you keep going and you keep going. Those people with grit get there. And those people without grit, I'm going to tell you the story of them. And this is the warning. And I never saw it until I saw it in ceremony. That the people that don't have grit, they start something. And remember me telling you that on a hard, so if hard is here and easy is here, and time goes this way, all of these starts are hardest in the beginning. Around 10 years, they start getting easier, right? But they're hardest in the beginning. These folks that don't have grit, they're constantly in startup because they leave the relationship. They leave the business partner. They start something, a new idea. They start that. So they're always in the hardest part of this. And when you see them at 60, their energy shows it, that they have had a super, super, super difficult time because they're always in startup. Grit is the thing that keeps you out of startup. Grit is the thing that keeps you in this thing. And when you made yourself the promise that you're going to be the best restaurateur, the best, you're going to own the best spiritual center, you're going to, become the best musician, the best dancer, the best. When you make that promise to yourself and you keep it, it gets easier as time goes on. And then your grit even intensifies because success is a great teacher. And in your life, you look where you've had grit and how that's worked out for you. So your grit gets stronger and your job gets easier as the timeline goes out. The people that don't have it constantly are quitting, and restarting. So they get here and it's super hard and they quit. And then that quitting, they get a breather. And then they start and it's harder up here again. And they quit and they start another one and it's harder. Don't be that person. Stick with it. Grit. So if I were to pass and be able to select the tools that I needed for my next life, a lot of people would say, "Oh, I would want to be uh, the best singer and the best dancer and the best looking, and I won't want any of that. What I would want is to have more grit than anybody on the planet. I wouldn't even care about, I would say, okay, moderate intelligence and more grit than anybody on the planet. And that would give me the willingness and the ability to make the greatest amount of change that anybody could ever make. So that is my ceremony story for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you guys next week. And by all means, get to Rythmia. Get here. It'll make such a difference in your life, such an incredibly amazing difference. By all means, get here.